Hello everyone, this is Mac here and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel which is called Maclogs. As you can see, my special guest all the way from Canada. I'm so sorry, I have to apologize to my audience that I had to wake up my guest very early because it's Sunday early, or maybe you can say a little bit. I'm so sorry, I have to apologize to my audience that I had to wake up I think our voice has been kind of a problem here. Give me some time. Sorry. This usually happens. I think our voice so. Okay, I'm so sorry for that. Because of the volume of the background, that's what we can see you. Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my guest. Let me welcome my guest. Sorry for the interruption, guys. That's my guest, Tharshiga Elankeeran, sitting in Canada, Ontario, to talk about a very important topic because she is a psychotherapist.
Yes.
Wow. Have I ever heard about what is psychotherapist? Well, all I know is that I am not a psycho for sure. So good morning in Canada and good evening in Middle East and Asia from Maclogs to Tharshiga. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. I am excited. I haven't done something like this before. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm I'm not an early riser, so me waking up more earlier than I have to is it just feels like a lot, but it's actually not that early here. It's 12, so it is noon right now. um, but yeah, I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Well, it's an honor. It's an honor for Maclogs to always have very enterprising people coming up and expressing themselves, talking about their journey, their stories, their talent, their skills, to bring a change. The whole concept and the idea about MacBlogs is connecting with people all around the world so that we can change the mindsets of people, whatever they're thinking about themselves. Because sometimes what I believe, and I'm sure you can endorse, that it's all about the mind because you are the mindfulness coach as well. Am I right?
I
Okay.
practice a lot of mindfulness. Yes. Yeah.
So it's everything related to the mind because I always learn that until and unless you calm your mind or control your mind, your life will never go in the right direction. So in that scenario, you are the specialist because you are a psychotherapist, you're a therapist, you're a counselor. I think if I keep on going and speaking, I would not have much words to express who you are. I think it would be better for you to tell my audience and all the people around the world, especially in Canada and all the other continents, that who you are and what exactly you do in Canada and how do you shape up the lives of people and how do you treat them and how do you train them and how do you make them a better human being for their future. So why don't you go and give a little bit introduction about yourself, and then we're going to make this podcast more interesting to learn, and then we'll have some little bit funny questions as well, just to understand your life and just to make this session a very enjoyable one. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Tharshiga. I am a registered psychotherapist in Ontario, Canada. And psychotherapist, I do therapy and I work with mental health. And mental health, I think this is changing dramatically. I hope you can't hear my daughter screaming downstairs, and I apologize if you do. There's a lot of
That's the normal life. That's the normal life of a mother as well when
yeah,
she's at work.
yeah, and because everything is remote now, like this is amazing that we can do this. And yeah, because everything's remote, family life is still happening downstairs while I'm here. So I was speaking about psychotherapy, mental health. So yeah, I was going to say that mental health I think there was a lot of stigma around, oh, you're crazy if you have any issues, and your mental, like that. There was a lot of stigma there, and I think things are changing a lot and have changed a lot, and I think we have more more to go. But mental health is just like physical health, right? Like, it's just, we have so many different parts of ourselves, and just like our physical, our spiritual, our professional, and our mental is just another part of ourselves that we also need to take care of, right? And you you kind of spoke about our mind, um, and mental health goes hand in hand with our mind, right? Because when we're talking about mental health, we are talking about the chatter that's happening up here, and if we are not
You can see a big brain of mine for sure. My
yeah,
forehead is quite big to see my brain.
and it's amazing, right? It's an amazing tool that we have. um, and it's just if we learn to use it as a tool that we can continue to grow as the human species and use to our advantage and like to humanity's advantage, then we can go a long way, right? Versus it letting it control us, which is sometimes what human beings can get into when they get into an autopilot mode, where you're just like, check, check, check. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And we're almost functioning like robots. We're not necessarily here. We're not necessarily alive in this moment in the way that we can show up. Yeah, I feel like I'm.
So
Go ahead.
what I just want to say is that I think your time of looking after the patients or the people's mental health would have started from the COVID time. So how stressful it was at that time to treat people, and now we hear that the people do have gone through depressions and anxieties and stuff like that, and it's really curable, which I believe, but they need a mental health specialist like you, to be on the ground to treat the people. And how do you see the cases again in Canada and US and around the world? And what do you see? How do you see your role being an expert internationally to treat them?
Um, so I think mental health has always existed, right? So depression, anxiety, uh, all the relationship issues that mental health shows up in every part, right? And that has always existed. But I think what the pandemic did is it kind of forced people to be home, to be with themselves, to be in their own mind, and then people started to notice, oh, like, my living space in my head isn't actually that clean or that inviting or that welcoming or that loving, right? There's a lot of criticism happening up here. There's a lot of um, judgment or whatever is happening up there. I think people just became more aware of it because because we were forced to stay home. We were forced to, when we weren't allowed to go out and do this and do that and do this and all the stuff that we do on a regular day to keep ourselves busy and occupied, right? And we were forced to sit in solitude. We were also forced to confront what's happening inside of ourselves. And I think there is, as hard as it has been for people, I think that there's also something really beautiful there, because I think by sitting with yourself and allowing yourself to see what's happening inside of you, you also have the opportunity to grow from that, right? Instead of just, because what people typically do is that has always existed, but let me shove it under the rug and like go to this party. Let me shove it under the rug and go to the movies. Let me shove it under the rug and go to dinner, right? So you're never really confronting yourself or just being with yourself, right? But you're with yourself 24/7. You're always with yourself. So if you can befriend yourself and love yourself and sit with yourself comfortably, could you imagine the life that you can have outside in the world, right? With other people.
What ways do you treat people? What are the methods of teaching or training the mind to be calm in a environment where it's very chaos in the minds, and
Mhm.
lots of people keep on telling me, and I keep on learning that you need to be calm in the negative situation. How can that happen? That's really difficult because you are an expert.
It
I
is.
need I want to know that answer, that when you're such a panic mood, or maybe you are angry, you have different moods and
Mhm.
different swings, for the life. But it's really difficult to calm yourself when you're in a negative situation. So how does that happen? So I want to know that answer and learn and tell those people out there with the proper technique by an expert like you.
Thank you. Um, so, therapy, there's so many different models, like therapeutic techniques that you can use. And I think just like anything else out there, I can't say one thing works for everyone, right? You really have to, that's why one-on-one therapy is always about understanding the client, what works well for you. And a part of that is, just like doctors, it's trial and error, right? You find what works for you and then you stick with that medication. But when it comes to therapy, it's not medication. You're not using anything externally to make yourself feel better. You're using yourself, right? So the techniques are, so one of the most popular ones for like anxiety and depression is cognitive behavioral therapy. And the basic fundamental idea behind that is that your thoughts, what I'm thinking, impacts the way that I feel, which then impacts my behavior. So if I'm thinking, if I have a test tomorrow and I'm thinking, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I didn't study hard enough, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to feel very anxious. I'm going to feel overwhelmed and maybe not good enough, right? And maybe some anger or sadness that I didn't study, but I'm going to feel these feelings. And as a result of feeling anxious, of feeling sad or not prepared or angry, my action, that leads into my action. And my action may be that, I don't get enough sleep, so then I sleep in accidentally. I don't hear the alarm. Or I go in and I'm just in my head because I'm just panicking, right? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand this question, right? Like we're just, and then acting that way leads into more thoughts. So it's kind of like a circle, right? Like I'm breathing really hard. I'm not able to answer any of the questions. Oh my God, I'm just going to fail. I'm going to fail. I feel like crap, and then more action. And maybe I had in the submit the test early because I don't even finish it, right? Like I don't even, but if in that moment, like you were saying, from a state of calm, that we're able to be there more and we're able to resolve the issue, whatever it is in that moment, in that state of calm, um, and there's tools that you need to practice, right, in order to, like, it's much easier to practice any tool when you're feeling good than wait to practice it until you're feeling bad, because you
Okay.
don't even remember these tools when you're feeling bad, because in that state when you're panicking, your mind isn't even thinking the way that it normally would, right? Because
Hmm.
when we're stressed, we're stress hormones are released in our brain and our body, and in that state you're actually not even thinking in the way that you could, that your potential holds. So so any technique, I always recommend to my clients, practice it. Try to get into a habit of just practicing it when you feel good, because once you've trained your body that, oh, this is something that works for me, after I do this, this feels good, then you're more likely to remember it and actually do it when you're stressed out.
So if anybody wants to connect with you in Canada, Ontario, for having the mental issues, anxiety issues, or whatever it's related to mental or
Health.
mindfulness,
Yeah.
so how can they connect with you, and what are the ways? Can you talk or tell
Yeah.
or share any link or something, how people can connect with you? Okay, definitely I will be connecting you for sure. But the fact is, like, the people would like to
Right.
come and get in touch with you through Instagram, or do you have an office, or you're doing it freelance? What is the whole
Yeah.
objective
So
of your expertise?
I have a website, so people can contact me through there. It's mindfulwe.life. And I also
Okay.
recently got Instagram. Um, I want to say it's mindful we slash life. I'm
No
sorry, I
worries,
just
don't worry. So I'll mention it in the
into
link when you
Instagram.
send me those links. So
Thank you.
the
I'm
whole the
into
audience and the
social
people
media,
around the world
so
can definitely go to the description section and get connected with you. But
thank
just
you.
another question is just a curiosity to know: do you have a setup or do you have an office where people can come and see you, or you work from home as well?
So I used to have an office pre-pandemic, but
Hmm.
once the pandemic came along, we weren't allowed to see anybody, and so then I, I stopped renting the space out, and since then, now things are going back to normal, right? Like we're starting to see people, and not many people are wearing masks, so we're starting to head back to face to face. But even with that, I'm finding I personally haven't had any clients say, I want to see you in person. I think I see people over the computer through video, just like this, and it's easy. Right, it's easy for people to sit in the comfort of their home and just press a button and have the session, and then be done, and then go about their day. Right?
So I
It's
think it's the global now people are connected because of these podcasts and
yeah,
online sessions, which thanks to COVID, I wouldn't say thanks to COVID, but it was the time where people utilized
yeah,
being online more. Whether it's schools and people who were at home, so they did that. So I think the online platforms are much better for you because that's where you can connect with the audience and the patients and the people around the world. It's just a click of a second. So from being in Canada, you can treat someone sitting in India, in Sri Lanka, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, with all your expertise. So I'm definitely sure this is one of the platforms where you should start coming more frequently because that's how the people can get connected with you rather than being
yeah,
face to face
for sure.
on in the office. I would say more than on being online.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we our guest, we are learning a lot from her today, but so let's try to learn that what are the aspects of future that we see in the mental aspects of people, how you can change the mindsets, because that's the concept of MacBlocks as well for changing the mindsets. How do you think that you can play the role as an expert of psychotherapist or a counselor to change people's mindsets for future? What are your future goals?
Hmm. Um, so I'm not, honestly, I don't, I think we're talking about the same thing, but I would use different language. So I wouldn't say that I'm trying to change anyone. I would say that I see my role more as me helping you get more in tune with who you truly are. Because I do, and so mindful we comes, the reason that I, named my practice that is because, I've been a psychotherapist I've been practicing for 10 years now. And it involves it's very cognitive. It involves a lot of brain power, and it involves a lot of talking and thinking. And it's amazing. There's so much potential in that. But sometimes when people have been through such hard challenges in life, whether, that's war, whether that's abuse, whether that's, there's horrible things that happen in life as well as beautiful things. But when people have been through those horrible things in life, they're in a state where they can't always think. And so you need to be able to quiet the mind and get more in touch with yourself. Because I think, mind, and this is why I love mindfulness, and this is why I talk a lot about mindfulness, is because mindfulness is about coming into the here and now in this moment and what's happening here and now. So, here and now within me, but also within this interaction, right? And recognizing this interaction is my present. And in this interaction, I have the power over what I choose to do and how I choose to define my life in this moment, which then also paves the path for my future, right? I think that, you know, I try to, like, mindfulness for me is very much in touch with spirituality. And I believe that we are all connected. We are all connected and we are all one. And I believe that if we can tap into that part of us, which isn't necessarily the brain all the time, but comes from the heart and just within our body, because our body has so much knowledge too, right? Our body, like, you know, I've heard references, a lot of research and reference, new research is speaking to how there's a brain within our heart and our gut as well. And we don't, there isn't, I think there's so much more research to come, but this really speaks to a new, a new, like, almost like a new era, right? Like, if we can tap into these other parts of ourselves and use the wisdom that is within our body and not just our brain, which has got us so far. But like everything, there's pros and cons, right? So with all this knowledge that we've had, there's also guns and all this weaponry that also was created, right? But there's also wonderful creation, other creations that has happened. But if we can access and not tap into another resource that unites us all, and that's why mindfulness, although mindfulness is something that you practice solo within yourself to tap into, to get in touch with, you know, this resource within you. And this resource within you, people refer to different things, right? Like, it's like the God within you, the soul within you, the spirit within you, right? But if we can tap into that, and that resource is the same within everyone, right? The essence is love, right? Love for yourself, but also everyone and everything around us, right? And from that place, and so I don't necessarily, because I truly believe that I don't need to change anything. I just need to get people tapped into that. You know, so I see, so when I have consultations, I always tell my potential clients that I see myself more as a guide, where I'm leading you back to you, like your home base, where everything is just, you know, we come into this world pure and a blank slate, but it's all about, it's like, you know, when you see children, their face lights up when they see someone they love, right? And it's like, it's that safety, it's that relationship, it's that connection. And if we can have that amongst all of us, right? Like, the world would be just such a better place, a loving, amazing place. And that's why it's called mindful we, because I do believe that we are all connected. And that's how I see, like, that's my goal. That's my goal, is to, you know, and it starts with me, right? Like, I am also a product of this world, so I have my own, like, ways that I think, and I'm every day, that's why I practice meditation. I sit in meditation every day, because I'm trying to tune into myself, tune into the way that I think. How am I responding, you know, with my partner? How am I responding with my friends? How am I responding at work? How am I responding with, you know, the different people that I work with, right? And I think that's work, right? And it's harder, it's sometimes it's easy just to do the work that we're assigned, right? But, like, are you doing that out of that pure place, out of love, out of safety, out of enjoyment, out of peace? Or are you doing it because I have to pay the bill, because I have to, you know, my husband's going to yell at me, or my parents are going to yell at me, I need to do this, so that's why I'm in school, right? Like, if we can get, so I see myself, my job, more as getting you back to who you truly are inside. And I think that source is what connects all of us. And I think
I
if,
agree.
yeah.
I agree. So, what type of therapies you would like to recommend the audience out there who, who really don't know exactly what the problems they're facing in their lives, and they really want the solution so that they can calm themselves, because at times we know it is not genetically which they go through, being angry or panic or whatever it is. But sometimes it's because of the due to the situation, the stress, which people overdo or overburn themselves, in their lives. So what type of therapies you would suggest them, and why, and they should take up those therapies?
Hmm. So I think you know, therapy, one-on-one therapy, there's, like I mentioned, there's so many different therapeutic models, right? And I don't think that like CBT is just cognitive behavioral therapy is just one that has a lot of research put into it and speaks to like how effective it is, right? But there's so many other therapies out there that don't necessarily have the same sort of research, but can still be effective, right? And with that said, I don't whenever I tell people, whenever I have a consultation with someone, I always tell people that while the therapy model is something that I learn about in school through my textbooks, and I have to continue to learn because I want to stay updated and I want to stay um, knowledgeable about what's currently working and what's not. While that's really important, that foundation is important. And there's a lot of research that speaks to this. The human connection is much more important. There's been research that speaks about the therapeutic alliance between the therapist client being like 85% important, right? Holding that much significance. Because if you don't have a good relationship with your therapist, then you're not going to feel safe. You're not going to feel like I can open up about this. You're not going to feel like, you're not going to feel like you can just be eased into yourself to just share what needs to be shared in order for that to be worked on, right? So I always tell my potential clients that I'm happy to work with you, but I always recommend speak to other people as well, because and my husband would say that that's not a good way to practice business, but it's about you getting better. And if I'm not the right fit for you, then I'm not the right therapist for you, and we're both going to be wasting our time, right? Like I want you to.
So are you saying those wives who are therapists are better partners for their husband,
I don't
because they
know.
can, maybe they can heal their husbands when
Oh
they're angry in a
no,
very positive way?
you can't change anybody. Everyone is who they are. I think, yeah, that's a question you would have to ask my husband.
I
uh,
will definitely like to ask him to understand exactly how beneficial it was to marry a woman like you, who is a therapist. And if he's in a situation where he doesn't have the answers, does he really come to you, or he finds himself? Because ultimately, he has an expert sitting at home, but I'm sure he won't not going to agree to that. You're an expert.
yeah, I mean, he'll agree to it, but I think there's a part of when we're struggling is it's also hard to open up to other people, right? And sometimes, yeah, when it's your part, like you have that connection, you have that love, sometimes it's even harder for some people because they don't want to burden them, or they don't want to, like, there's so many reasons why people are the way that they are. I can't even begin to break that
Let's not open the can of worms out, I guess.
down.
That's right. Okay, so that was Tharshiga Elankeeran with her profession. Now we're going to play a little game to make this session a little bit more exciting, to understand her life, for my audience to know how she lives all her life, everyday life, you know? So let's make it more interesting and enjoyable. So Tharshiga, let me ask you a few questions. It's
Sounds
up
good.
to you whether you want to answer them or you want to skip them. It's totally up to you. But it's just going to be a little bit to understand who you are with your life and stuff. What are the favorite colors Tharshiga use in her daily life?
Colors?
Yeah, colors like blue. What is your favorite color? I would say because
Green.
that can reflect your personality, right?
Green, coral. I like green a lot.
Green a lot. That's why I can see the green leaves behind you. Okay. Favorite food? Asian,
Hmm, favorite type of
Italian, Chinese,
I do really like Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
Okay. Any dish in mind?
Pasta,
Why?
pizza.
Pasta and pizza.
I love
Italians
cheese.
are always happy to sell them. Sure. What about the sports? Are you a cricket fan, Sri Lankan fan, cricket, or any other sports?
Sports. I haven't. I like swimming. Um, and I like. I haven't
There's
watched.
something called like and something which you do in your life too as a sports. Do you play? Do you do that?
Then it's swimming.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the favorite spot you want to go with your family for a very good, enjoyable holiday just for 10, 15 days or a month? What spot that's going to be or favorite country for you to visit, which you haven't visited yet?
Which I haven't.
Which
Um,
is one of your dream spots in mind, which you really want to explore, but you haven't yet?
Honestly, I'd like to see Turkey.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Okay. If your husband is listening, tell him to pack his bags. Let's move to Turkey for a holiday. It's a good place to be. Okay. Okay. Now, what was your favorite subject in your college or in your school that made you till now what you're doing in your life that really helped you so much to become an expert now? What was that favorite subject of yours?
All throughout my life in school, I enjoyed art.
Arts. So you're an artistic person.
Yes, yeah, I
Uh,
paint. Yeah.
okay. Indoor, you like to be an indoor more or an outdoor more?
It depends on the weather. If it's nice and sunny, then outdoors. And in winter days, I like to sit inside and watch outside, but I don't necessarily like to be outside.
Okay. Winter or summer?
Summer,
Summer. Hmm. Water or ice?
water,
You want to be in the air or on the yacht?
on the
Yacht. I mean, in the
uh,
sea, a cruise ship or something.
mm,
You want to be on flying in the air or you want to be cruising through the ship? Like what type of the difference you can choose for.
I haven't been on a cruise, so I want to say I want to be on a cruise.
Okay. Well, that was a few questions. I hope you like that. And we get to know that that was one of your favorite stuff. So, how do you feel about MacVlogs? Have you ever seen MacVlogs before, and how was your experience being today as a guest? Would you like to share something and give a small shout out about my channel as well, which I always ask my guests? Just to give a boost that whether I'm on the right track of bringing the right guest or need more attention and what type of more guests can come with the different topics and contents. So please go ahead. It's up to you.
Honestly, I think you're the expert at that. Yeah, I don't. It sounds you've been doing this for a while, right?
I started during the COVID times. That gives me a direction to change people's mindsets.
Oh, that's amazing. So you
Yep.
started this for your own purpose. Like it's also about.
No, not for the own purpose. It was meant for MacVlogs might be a channel, but it's a dream. It's a reality for the people to come and express themselves as a platform, which I
Yeah,
want to give everybody because
yeah,
it's a common people's platform where everyone can be connected in this global world. So
yeah,
MacBlocks is all about connecting and promoting the mindsets, the talent, the skills, the journey, the success, even
yeah,
the failures of the life, because you get to
yeah,
learn from the failures too. So that's the whole objective of MacBlocks to bring enterprising people, common people, come and express and talk just for 35, 40 minutes so that you can unleash yourself and whole world can connect with you.
That's amazing. Right?
Thank
And
you so much, Tharshiga, for giving me a very useful time of yours. Sorry, it's a weekend. I have taken an important
it's
time
a
of
pleasure.
yours, but that's where really so thank you so much. I would just like to say that to you. So keep up the great work which you're doing, and we will
You.
get to see you in MacBlook soon again and again with different subjects, different topic which we feel that we can keep on helping the people out there because we know in the time of the inflation which is happening around the world. Not everyone can travel, especially from Canada to Asia or Asia to Canada. Let's make it a habit that we can bring you online to change people's lives. Thank you once again. God bless you. Keep smiling. God bless you and your whole family and make it a change. Thank you so much. Take care.
So much.
Don't go away. I'll be just right there.